Diamond K Show here on RadioOnFire.com. Of course, we're broadcasting from the Radio on Fire studios here in Baltimore, Maryland. Election season, of course, we are in the middle of that. Special election coming up, all different types of things. I have a special guest in the building. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Oh, Harry Spikes, running for Congress for the 7th District of Maryland.
And so that is, you're running in the February 4th?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I was able to be blessed with Baltimore by being accepted to the great Morgan State University. And so that's where my journey in politics began, here in Baltimore.
What led you to politics?
Well, actually, a lot of people don't know, I actually wanted to be a police officer when I was a kid. And then when I went to Morgan State, I was doing a lot of like criminal justice classes and stuff. And my mom and dad, they saw I was really serious with it, but they didn't want me to get killed, and all that stuff. I said, Mom, Dad, I'll be fine. So then they say, we want you to pick something else. So I went to my guidance counselor at the time, and she said, Harry, what are you interested in? I said, when I was in high school, I really enjoyed student government. So she said, well, won't you do the Intro to Political Science class? And bro, when I did that, I just fell in love with it. So
Intro to Political Science.
Yeah, Introduction to Political Science. Yep.
And so what was it that pulled you in about it specifically?
Well, what I liked about it was that we actually were working on and learning current things. Mm-hmm. So it was a nice combination between history and a very good combination between current events. And we were able to study things that were on the ground happening. Plus, at the time, there were a lot of campaigns happening. So we had different speakers who would come in and introduce themselves. We had different policy folks who actually worked in Washington and came to Morgan State University and actually told us what they did and how they did it. So it was just so interactive, and we actually got a chance to see how politics really affected people. So from then on, man, I was just hooked. I was like, man, this thing is real, And so after Morgan State University, I remember they had like a job. It was like a job fair, but someone came to the class to introduce himself at the Library of Congress. And I went down there, and she said, do you know how to write? I said, yeah, I know how to write. So she said, I want you to apply. So I applied. And the next thing you know, I got an opportunity to work at the Congressional Research Service, where I actually did congressional research. And then one day, I had my little dirty T-shirt, cut my mama's grass, had my little phone in my pocket. And my professor called me, and he said, Harry, you still working down at the Library of Congress? I said, yes, sir, I am. And he said, well, there's this guy in Baltimore named Congressman Cummings. He's looking for somebody to work on housing and social security issues. So then I said, cool, I'll apply. And, man, they didn't contact me for like 8 months. Did the interview and everything. I thought I didn't get it. And I get a call on a Sunday night back in 2004, and it was him. And he said, my brother, I'd like you to join me.
Congressman Cummings?
Yeah, it was him.
Okay.
And that was 15 years ago, my friend. There you go.
So this would lead me to believe that you had some interactions with him.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Okay.
A little bit, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so you have a different perspective of things, and I don't think that I've talked to anybody that's come at it from the journey that you've been on.
Okay.
So what about your experience there has prepared you for this lofty task of being in the 7th District of Maryland?
Oh, sure. Thank you for the question. I often tell people that D.C. is the paper, but the district are the people. And when you worked with the staff that I worked with, and of course when we worked with him, you saw how the decision-making in D.C. affected people across the country, and most importantly here. And that, for me, gave me critical thinking as to how we really do things to help folks, because once it's on that dotted line, it's about to happen, man. Mm-hmm. I will also say I was able to see the reasons why he did what he did, the thought process that went into that, and also the great staff that we had around us to help us make great decisions. And so for me, it was a blessing to be around somebody that, you read about in books why folks did things, but it was different for me because I got to live and see why folks did things. And so he was always evolving. And when he evolved, we evolved too. I mean, one of my greatest memories, I remember when President Obama got elected. And the congressman had a mandatory staff meeting where he wanted everybody there, and he told us how he wanted us to work harder. Now, man, we already were working hard, but it just showed you how even when he saw President Obama get in, it even changed him to even want to push more. So I mean, I could dive into that all day. We'd be here all day talking about that. Yeah. But my point is, those are the lessons that I walk with, and that are great memories for me that have allowed me to, when I do make those type of decisions, I know how and why.
So the position that he held was a very important position in regards to some of his committee assignments and just the things that he was overseeing. What reaction did you have when the ruckus came from the current president with regards to his attacks to the congressman, his attacks to Baltimore, and specifically in the 7th District?
Well, first of all, I was disappointed in what the president said, because his son-in-law has probably over 7,000 properties in Baltimore City.
That's very true.
Count if you combine them.
Very true.
And so I wish he had understood that, Baltimore is a city where we have hard workers, strong workers, and our city is not rat infested.
No.
Our city is beautiful. Matter of fact, D.C. got more rats than most cities in the nation. And I'm from
New York.
Right. They have a bad epidemic of that. As it relates to the congressman, I know in my heart that he was disappointed in him as well, because he told me, he was like, Harry, how can he say that about a city that's down the street from us? Why don't he, if he feels that way, why doesn't he come in and help if he feels that way? And so I've always been the type of person where folks, they do more talking than they do doing. And I wish he had done that. How it affected me personally, I was mad. I was mad. I'm like,
understandable.
That's no way to. You shouldn't be a divisive leader. He had an opportunity. I mean, as you and I both know, he has a voice to unite. He used that voice to separate, but it didn't separate Baltimore. Actually, brought us together. Everybody's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. First of all, you came after our congressman. Second of all, you came after a city that I care about. So for me, it was a bunch of mixed emotions, but it didn't keep us from doing our mission, because he'll tweet and Facebook.
Yeah. Where do you sit with regards to impeachment?
Well, I tell you, I first of all, a couple days ago when we saw Professor Noah from Harvard, and we also saw I believe her name is Pamela from Stanford, and when they articulated
Rhodes Scholars,
I think that was genius by the Democratic Party to bring people from top schools who teach lawyers about this. These are the reasons why we need to impeach. First of all, I thought that was genius. Second of all, I believe they should move forward, because after listening to what they shared with us as far as interaction with Russia, people within his campaign cabinet that he used to get information, they really did a great job the other day of laying that out. So if that's not enough evidence that we need to unite both the House and the Senate to say, hey, these are legitimate reasons as to why we should move forward for an impeachment vote, I don't know what else you can give, my brother.
Yeah,
I don't know what else you can give.
I don't think that any Republicans are going to, even with the evidence that has been laid out. I don't think that the Senate is going to convict him.
And that's why it's so important for us to have majorities.
That's
because
true.
That's the challenge. If I could sit down with you, or we're sitting down now, there was over 271 bills. See, people like to make it seem as if though the Democrats aren't doing anything. There's over 270 bills that have passed in the last couple months that are literally sitting and waiting for the Senate, to go ahead and sign it and so forth and so on. And we're still dealing with this, which shows that we have folks who are willing to do the work. But it goes back to your point. When we're looking for the other side to push it forward, that's the challenge.
Right. I mean, because a lot of these bills are being held up by Mitch McConnell, but at the same time, Trump would veto a lot of that stuff anyway.
And you're right about that.
You know what I mean? So it's just he says on one hand, do nothing Democrats. I think he says it like that, but they would still on the other side hold things up.
And that's why I mentioned that.
Yeah.
To show
you're right.
that we are doing something. We're not the do nothing Democrat.
Yeah. So there have been Republicans that are also vying for the same seat that you're vying for, and they look at things that I've talked to several of them, and they come at things from the perspective of the Democrats have had control, and what has that brought you? You know, give us a chance, right? What would you say to your constituents that could be swayed by this type of talk?
I am a man of democracy. If a Democrat or if a Republican, Democrat or any other party member wants to engage in the political process to run for this seat and they articulate, hey, give us a chance, they are welcome to do that. Because if I want to exercise my free speech to say, hey, Democrats, vote for me, I would hope that a Republican or anyone else from another party grants me the same opportunity that Harry Spikes is going to give them. So that's just how I feel. I will say that I don't look at it as saying give Republicans a chance. I would say give democracy a chance. This is a process in which people get to decide who their leader will be via president or, in this case, congressional. I dare not say, hey, don't listen to their voice, because I'm going to tell you something. The Congress have taught me that when you're in there, you got to reach across the aisle to make things work for Americans. The minute you start engaging in that type of rhetoric, what happens is, as I said in the beginning, you create a divisive culture, and then that perpetuates into the media, and then folks, and that's the negative. What people don't know is, and I'll say this publicly, there have been many Republicans who have worked with Democrats to make things work for all Americans, and vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I would be the leader to say, hey, guess what, y'all? I'm not going to tell you not to listen to them. Listen to them. That's your right.
So, of course, Congressman Cummings has a widow.
Yes, sir.
Who is running.
Yes, sir.
Why not put your your whole momentum behind her? Why should people vote for you instead?
Well, the congressman, he would always say children are the living messengers to a future that we will never see. And in my heart, I believe I'm the messenger. I do. I believe that those 15 years that I worked with him in his office and also as his district director has allowed me the opportunity to understand what he stood for and continue the mission. I will not say that the people who are running for this office don't have the ability, but I do know that I have the greatest ability. And for me, I wish all the competitors well, but I had an opportunity to pretty much, it was almost like a Karate Kid thing, if you will, where here's a man who took the time to teach me. And I never knew where the lessons would go. And then when he passed away, something happened, man. Something changed in me. And that's why most of the folks that meet me, I use my phrase, continuing the mission. Because there's a lot of good things that he was working on that we didn't get a chance to finish. And I worked on those with him. And to the staff's credit, they worked on it too, because I'm not going to sit here and take all credit for it. It take a team to do this congressional thing, man. And so I share that with you because that's what's in me. And I also, with that phrase, I feel like I'm the child representing the children. You know, the ones that are the generation that he didn't see, but we going to see it. We going to see it. My friends will tell you I'm a huge optimistic. You know what I mean? Maybe I watch too much Transformers. You know what I mean? Maybe I believe in Optimus Prime. But I will say that I'm one of those guys that I believe in a better tomorrow, and he showed me how to make a better tomorrow. The unfortunate piece was he died. That's all. And I'll tell you this, my brother. In my mind, I fantasized him saying, Harry, you know what? I'm gonna retire. And in my mind, I fantasized him being 88 years old, dying, man. Like living here long, still being that voice, but just taking care of himself and departing from Congress and letting somebody else, do the job. So when that happened, a lot changed in me. So I could talk to you all day about that, but
no. So where do you stand with the gerrymandering?
Man, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. If you look at our map, especially for this district, and you look at the top here where we have. We now have like Hampstead, Maryland, part of the top up there.
Right.
You look at the numbers, you'll see how Sarbanes, he has a part of the district here and a part of the district at the bottom, which is strange.
Very
strange, if you look at it. I wish that they would draw the districts in such a way where it is good for a congressman person to be able to navigate their entire district in a proper way. I also wish that, when they do the lines, that they take into consideration areas that don't have a voice, right? Areas that haven't had an opportunity to get the energy or the numbers of people they needed to get a tax base.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into that. People don't realize that, when you redistrict, you also are bringing a different type of economic climate to your district, or you could be taken away, and that goes into when you and I pay taxes. Depending on how many people in there, man, that decides what type of schools we're going to have, roads and all that, everything. So that's a large conversation, but I really want people to know that, when they do that they make sure that they look into how, hey, let's make it equitable. Let's make it equitable.
Definitely.
Let's make it equitable. Don't pull numbers that not only pull people, but pull money. For example, I hit you like this. When they did Hampstead, right? I was up in Hampstead about 4 weeks ago. Man, it was number farmland. I probably saw maybe 7 houses in one area within 2 miles, right? You come to Baltimore, within 2 miles, you got over 3,000 houses, man. You see my point?
That's true.
So it's like you gotta be careful what you're cutting up and what you're giving, because you could be extracting a population from having services and goods in the way of taxes, and you could be adding on to another that already has what they need. So I could talk all day about that.
Yeah. So when you have been talking to potential voters, have you been knocking on doors?
I have knocked on doors. I'm going to be knocking on more doors, but yes, I have.
What kind of reaction are they giving you when they see you?
Man, it's cool. It's cool. I had a couple people say, "Man, I saw you on TV," and that's I'm used to people saying we seen the Congressman on TV. So I'm like, man, I guess I am on TV here and there. So that feels good. I try, and I told my staff, I try my best to make sure that when I talk to folks, I give them real concrete rhetoric. I don't want to give people fluff.
Right.
I want to tell folks.
That's important, because they expect a politician to give them fluff.
Right. I really don't. It's not uncommon for me to throw out maybe a bill number or talk about some legislation that I'm passionate about, or talk about connections between programs that are given the federal government that translate down to here in local government. I want them to know what type of leader they're getting, because, and I make it very clear, there have been some people who give me conversations where I have to say, "Oh, hold on now, that the mayor takes care of that."
Right.
Yeah, I had to do that, which is fine, because I'm learning a lot of folks.
And that's good.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't know. Oh, I didn't know that, which is fine. I'm Harry Spikes don't mind being a teacher. I don't mind being a teacher because somebody taught me. You know what I mean? So I'm okay with
good
that.
Attitude to have.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, but
good
the reception's been, to answer your question again, the reception's been cool. Real
cool. Yeah, and that's good, because I know a lot of people are confused. We talk about teaching. A lot of people are confused the way this special election is going to work, because this is February 4th. And they got to turn right back around.
That's right.
And vote again.
That's right.
Because for people, and we've talked about this, but people have to understand that there's a vacancy that needs to be filled for the remainder of the term.
Yes, sir.
And then there's another term after that.
You said it right. And
that is what people have to understand, because voter turnout is super important for this. Super important. I was not feeling good with the way that this all came about, and I just don't want people to get disengaged because of there's multiple things going on. There's a lot of moving parts.
That's right.
So you were talking about things that you're passionate about.
Thank you for saying that.
What are you passionate about as far as coming into the office and being able to do things on day one? Like what are you passionate to get done?
What I'm really passionate about, you mentioned meeting people. I'm meeting 50 and 60-year-old people who are dealing with not being able to pay their drugs for their health and affordability. And that's bothering me because, as you all know, the congressman was in the hospital for a long time.
That was something that he was passionate about. I spoke with him, and he talked about that.
Right. And so being there, I got to meet other people who were in the hospital. And man, there was some folks crying because they didn't want to leave. And I'm like, why you don't want to leave? I'm not going to have the treatment and the money I need outside of this hospital just to be sustainable. So that breaks my heart. On top of that health piece, we got the opioid piece. A lot of people don't know over 101 people in America die every day over overdoses. And I'm passionate about that. I'm also passionate about education. There are a lot of folks my age and 60 who I'm learning they're still paying their student loans, man. They're still paying their student loans. And a lot of them have children who are in their 20s or in their 30s getting their master's or doctoral degrees, and they're paying loans too. So there's this huge debt. And then when they look at their payment history at the end of the year and they compare what they paid in interest in comparison to principal, it is horrific.
Yes.
It is horrific. So I'm very passionate about that. And a whole host of educational pieces that I would share with you all if we had more time. But after that, with education, I know once we get it in the form of apprenticeships or college or university, whatever, you can choose where you want to live, which brings me into housing. I talked to a developer last week, and I told him, I said, I don't mind you building a house in Canton and you selling it for $400,000, but please don't take that $400,000 house and bring it over to maybe the Berea community or Soundtown, Wilchester, where the population and the income rate is 40%. I mean, it's $40,000. The income can't support the house you build.
Right.
So I want to look at ways where we can put more money in the HUD, because I worked with people who wanted to buy houses, but now the down payment assistance is so high. The closing costs are so high. There's things that we can do with HUD where we can put more money in to help folks to get those things on the federal level. So those are the things I'm passionate about, because I know when you're healthy, you can decide how you want to live your life because you can manage your health. When you got your health straight, you can say, hey, man, I want to get an education and whatever, an apprenticeship, finish off high school, college, may do grad, whatever. And after that, and you get that job, you get that money, man, you can decide where you want to live.
Absolutely.
And that's my tier of issues that I'm very passionate about. But the health piece, I'm really big on, because as one of the things the Congressman blessed me with is that I was able to work on health policy for men.
Well, let me ask you this about we've done a lot of talk about healthcare. Mm-hmm. Are we talking about fixing the ACA, and we're talking about Medicare for all?
So I invite people to look at the plan that Bernie has and J. Paul has, which is under the Medicare for all. I support the Medicare for all for one. Let me tell you the first reason. The first reason is I worked on Social Security issues for the Congressman for 15 years. And I noticed that the folks who were receiving their Medicare, who either were disabled or seniors, they never complained about, hey, having that card to be able to take care of themselves and get their prescriptions and all that. I often once said, man, why can't everybody have that same card too? Why do I have to wait till I'm disabled or a senior to get that? Also,
and it comes down to how is this going to be funded?
The same in my mind, and what I've articulated, it's the same way it's already funded. I work, you work. The money that's taken out of my check and your check, it goes towards the people who are using it now.
Right.
That's how it is. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think when you are doing that, your money's coming out your check, it's in a piggy bank for you. It's not. The federal government takes that money, they put it in their healthcare system so that they can dish it out to the folks who are receiving Social Security benefits. So when I read the Bernie Sanders plan, when I read the J. Paul plan, what they're doing theoretically is the same thing. The only challenge, though, is back to this. We have to create more jobs, because the jobs, if more people are working, it's more sustainable. And that's what scares that's what scares most Americans. It's not enough people working to sustain what we already have now to go towards the folks who are disabled or who are seniors. Right. So for
because we still have people that are uninsured.
That's right. That's right.
So that's good, and I love to talk policy, but of course, policy and these type of things can be a little bit tedious for our listeners sometimes. So as far as politics goes, I can tell that you're definitely a policy person, but politics is a dirty game.
Right.
how can somebody as nice as yourself
Very kind of you.
handle this? This is mudslinging.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something that my father said. We were watching this movie one day. And the guy was knocking these rocks, and the diamond came out. He said, "Harry, remember, sometimes you gotta go through some dirt to get to the gold. To get to the diamond." And maybe there could be a person like yourself and myself whose heart is pure with this, that may give people the opportunity to say, hold on, we should change because they bring a different perspective. I know it can be dirty, but I also have met people who are very sincere. And unfortunately, in this political game, the folks who are sincere get overlooked.
Yes.
They get overlooked.
That's true.
I know, especially for you, you've met people in the community who their name will never make TV and radio, but they've been down in these communities fighting for years.
Yes.
To help people.
That's true.
But the minute there's a scandal, that makes the news.
That's true.
That makes the news. And then that really makes me angry because it's like, hold on. You keep bringing about this narrative of how bad Baltimore is. I got 20 people who are greater than that one person you keep talking about.
Right.
That you keep talking about. So for me, I'll say I'm one in 20 people. I'm one in 20 people. That I don't mind you saying, hey, won't you take a look at this person here and see what he has to bring. So like you said, I know it's dirty, but I consider myself one of the sincere people that doesn't mind, hey, dirty person, can you change? Can you change for a second? Just for a second for the large masses. So that's why I'm at that.
Yeah. How can people support your campaign, keep up with what you got going on?
Man, guess what? For the first time in my life, Harry Spikes has a website that says www.harryspikes.com. So you can go on the website, campaign information. You can stay up to date with us. We have a donation page. But most importantly, we have and I give this to my team. They made a really cool volunteer page, man, which actually you go in there, you can pick what you want to do. You know how most pages just, hey,
do
volunteer,
this, right?
Which is cool because it gives us an opportunity to really see how people want to help. So so that's how they can keep up with me, man. And of course the regular stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Am I missing something?
No.
Okay.
I think you got it all. You got it all.
Okay.
So that's good. How active are you on social media?
I am more active now than I was in the past. So I'm
That's
more
good.
active now because I want people to get my message. I want people to get to know Harry Spikes. And I want to meet new people. I'm meeting folks that I've never met before that have done a lot of cool stuff. So that's cool for me because it helps me articulate how they can help the mission that I may want to implement one day. I may meet somebody that says, well, Harry, we're into to greenery, and I'm like, hold on, we keep talking about solar energy, we keep talking about fossil fuels. Won't you come and join me? Let me hear your perspective. So that's cool for me.
And that's good. Yeah. And that is very good. I really appreciate you taking time to talk with me. I wish you much continued success.
Thank you, bro.
I will be back here tomorrow, 4 p.m. For another episode of the show. I'm going to give you the last word. If you can speak directly to the camera and tell people why they need to vote for you.
You need to vote for Harry Spikes because he will be your voice for the 7th District of Maryland, and he'll be a person that you can trust to make the right decisions. He'll be a gentleman that will allow you to make sure that you hold other folks accountable, and also he'll make sure that he makes, again, the right decisions that are not only right for the district, but remember, for America. When I go to Congress, I'm working with other groups of people that have America's best interests at heart. And I want you to know, not only do I have the 7th District's best interests at heart, but I have America's best interests at heart. And do not hesitate to come to me and say, Harry, this is what I believe in. Can you help us with this? I'm more than willing to do that. And thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow.